Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a lap guide for the newish lap time challenge taking place at Watkins Glen with the Aston Martin Vantage. To access this lap time challenge, going over to sport mode, so make sure you have menu book number 9 completed so you can access sport mode, and in there you'll find the online time trials towards the middle of the screen. So go ahead and click on that and you'll see the current lap time challenge is being held, and this lap time challenge goes on until April 9, 2025, where we're on the sports soft tires. No, you cannot tune your car, and your goal is to get within the 3% time range of the world record time when the event ends, as that is when your lap time gets counted, and hopefully you can get the 2 million credits. My in-game replay can be found in the description down below, but first, 2 quick things. I was curious about roof cam, so I decided to give it a try for this lap time challenge. And the other thing is that unlike most of the times where I'm on the wheel, this time I was on the controller again, mostly because I didn't want to take the wheel out. So yeah, I'm doing this on the controller this time around. But anyways, bring yourself towards the left. You're going to brake just before the 400 feet board, so brake as much as you can in a straight line and make your way down to 4th gear. And I just go down to 4th gear because it makes my life a little easier on the corner exit. Turn in as you reach the sign on the left, so go ahead and turn on in, ease off of the brakes as you're turning in, so doing a bit of trail braking. You just carefully get back on the throttle and take advantage of the curbs as you're still within track limits. Now this entire section is flat out. You're going to turn in just before the curb on the left ends and connect your wheels to the curb on the right, because that will help the car turn in more. Then just before the curb on the right ends, that is where you start to turn in. You need to time this turn right because you're going through it flat out, and if you time it late, you're going to hit the wall. And you want to be careful about the curb on the left because, as you saw right there, it can also unsettle the car. So that turn is pretty difficult to nail down. Now for the chicane, you're braking just before the 500 feet board, and you can get away with only going down to 5th gear. So use all of your braking power, turn in before you reach the marshal stand that is on the left, and you want to get really close to the wall that is on the right. And again, here I stay on 5th gear. It makes my life a little easier going through the chicane. And I do use just a little blip of the throttle right around here. And at least for me, I found it a bit easier to navigate through the chicane if I do that little blip on the throttle. And then you want to be really careful getting back on the throttle because the car can easily get unsettled here. Here the car did get unsettled a little bit. Then just as the curb on the right starts, you can start to brake and turn in. And I'm not on the brakes all the time. I'm kind of just playing around with the braking input. Just trying to stay towards the right side of the track. And once you're getting close to the track marshals on the right, that is where you can start to use all of your throttle power and get a quick exit out of this turn. Bring yourself towards the right, brake before the 200 feet board. Just notice how early I'm braking for this turn. Here I only go down to 4th gear. Some people might go down to 3rd, but that can unsettle the car quite a bit. So down to 4th gear is more than enough for me. And you can be just a little aggressive getting back on the throttle. I found that this car usually stays well behaved at the exit of this turn. Bring yourself towards the left, brake before the 200 feet board, and you want to be a bit careful with the corner exit. It's really easy to have the car unsettle a bit with a little too much throttle power, and you're going to see a bit of that here. So just easing off the brakes, doing a little bit of trail braking, coasting for a moment to let the car turn in a bit more. And right there I was a little aggressive on the throttle, so the car stepped out a little bit and it did cost me a bit of time. Now you're going to brake before the 200 feet board. So when I say this is around the 250 feet mark, use all of your braking power. And here I just go down to 4th gear. It makes my life a little easier getting back on the throttle. You can go down to 3rd gear, just be careful with your throttle input on the exit. Yeah, fourth gear makes my life a little easier, so I went ahead and stuck with that. Then brake before the 100 feet board. Here you will go down to third gear, and you want to try to bring yourself to the left as soon as you can. So use all of your braking power, hug this left side of the track, and you just want to be really careful getting back on the throttle to make sure that the car stays on its best behavior and doesn't step out on you. Stay towards the right. You're going to look for the 200 feet board. You're braking just before you reach the 200 feet board, and you're turning in just before you reach the 100 feet board. So here, 50% braking power for a short moment, and then turn on in. Nice and careful getting back on the throttle and bring yourself towards the left because you're braking before the grass on the right starts. And here you can get away with staying on fourth gear, and you'll see that right there. Full braking power for a short moment. You can stay on fourth gear, nice and careful getting back on the throttle. Just make sure you don't tap the wall on the left, and finish your lap. And you'll see in a moment I was able to poke into the 151s. So we'll go through this again, but this time I'm not going to stop the video. And again, I was on the controller this time around, and I was also experimenting with roof cam. Not sure if I'll stick with roof cam. I just wanted to experiment around with it. But anyways, brake before the 400 feet board. Go down to fourth gear. Be nice and careful getting back on the throttle so the car doesn't step out on you. Turn in before the curb on the left ends. Connect your wheels with the curb on the right. Turn in just as the curb on the right ends, and you want to try to go through this part flat out. And unfortunately, it is a bit easier said than done right there. Then brake before the 500 feet board. You can get away with going down to fifth gear. It makes the car a little bit easier to control when you get back on the throttle, but there are some people that go down to fourth gear. Brake just as the curb on the right starts. Just trying to stay towards the right side of the track until right here. That is where you get back on the throttle. Brake before the 200 feet board. Really easy to overshoot this braking zone, and I do a bit of that right there, but then get back on the throttle a bit aggressively right there. Brake before the 200 feet board. You want to be really careful getting back on the throttle right here. It's really easy to be a little aggressive on the throttle, and the car starts to step out on you and you start to lose time that way. Then at around the 250 feet range, that is where you start to brake. You can get away with just staying on fourth gear. It's nice and careful getting back on the throttle. Then bring yourself towards the right. Brake before the 100 feet board down to third gear. Nice and careful getting back on the throttle so the car doesn't step out. You want it to be on its best behavior. Use the 200 feet board as your braking point. Then bring yourself towards the left. Brake before the grass on the right starts. And you can stay on fourth gear right there. And just carefully get back on the throttle, making sure you don't hit the wall on the left. But we'll go through this one more time, but this time we are going to be in bumper cam. So this is for the bumper cam homies out there. And final turn, you can get away with staying on fourth gear. Then bring yourself towards the left. You want to brake before the 400 feet board. So it's going to be right around here. Brake before the 400 feet board. And you can go down to fourth gear. It makes the exits a little bit easier. Then you want to take this section flat out. Make sure your right wheels touch the curb on the right. Then turn in when the curb on the right ends. Trying to go through this flat out, it's a lot easier said than done. Bring yourself towards the left. You're braking before the 500 feet board. And here you can get away with going down to just fifth gear. Although some people do go down to fourth gear. Just be really careful getting back on the throttle. The car gets pretty unsettled around this area, especially at the end of the bottom chicane. Bring yourself towards the right. Brake before the 200 feet board. And you can get away with just going down to fourth gear. Makes the exit of this turn a little bit easier. At least in my opinion, makes the exit a little bit easier. Then brake before the 200 feet board. And go down to fourth gear. Be really careful getting back on the throttle for this turn because the car does get easily upset right there. So you want to be careful with your throttle input. around the 250 feet range, that is where you want to start to brake. You can get away with going down to 4th gear, makes the exit a little bit easier to navigate through. Brake before the 100 feet board, go down to 3rd gear. Quite a bit of trail braking, so just easing off the brakes as you're turning in. Then brake at the 200 feet board, turn in before the 100 feet board. Bring yourself towards the left, brake before the grass on the right ends, and you can get away with just staying on 4th gear. Nice and careful getting back on the throttle and end your lap. So with this, I was able to poke into the 151s on the controller. Hopefully this lap guide helps you out. And if you like this video, you can press the like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But this is Mr. CA, and I'll see you in the next video.